Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How are you? I'm waiting for an answer. Sammy and Jamie not with us today. We're coming live from the Earwolf Studios in Hollywood, California. Stop by anytime. Come on up and just tell them I sent you and ask to use the bathroom. For those of you who give a good goddamn, I believe our guest today may be a newly one of you. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel show received 14 Emmy nominations, 3 of which we've already won at the technical thing, including best casting in a comedy. Now, I feel like I get some of that credit. No?
Yeah.
Because I'm in the cast. Mm-hmm. All right. I just hope she thanked me when she accepted her award. That's, let's see, and then the Big Boy telecast will be Monday, which I've not been to. Jamie has a dress. I have a new tux. We're excited. I haven't done a lot of TV, and what I've done, nobody gave a good goddamn in the Emmy nominating people. So, first times for anything is good. And then I'm sure 11 minutes in, like, honey, let's get the car. Lastly, on the Mesa front, we just finished shooting the Season 2 finale. Actually, they finished tomorrow. I finished. They finish the rest of it tomorrow. And then they all get on planes and come out west for the big Emmy gatherings. If people have been yelling a lot on the social media about when the fuck Season 2 drops, all I can tell you is there's 10 episodes, and they will be available before the Christmas holiday. That's all I'm legally allowed to tell you. Write to us, won't you? kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. Yeah, sure. I'll repeat it. kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. I'm going to read one of your damn letters right now while my guest sits uncomfortably.
No, fine.
Okay. Get yourself some agua. Yeah. That is a good pour from one's lower region. Hey, Kevin. Always a good way to start a letter, by the way, in case you're wondering. Yeah. Hey, Kevin. I'm not sure why it's so empowering to hear esteemed performers like you and Tony Shalhoub speak about the fraud police, but it really is. I'm an author, and as my second book now you're just bragging. And as my second book gets ready for publication, the fraud police are out and active telling me that it's garbage and my first book was a fluke. I think it's the idea that if Tony goddamned Shalhoub, which is in fact his middle name, and Kevin fucking Pollak, you missed that one, it's Elliot, can have these thoughts, then maybe it's just a part of the human condition and makes it easier to dismiss these stupid, self-destructive thoughts. So thanks again for being real. You and your show are appreciated. Best, Melissa Sinova. And Melissa, good luck. Send me a link to book 2. I'd be happy to give you a big thumbs up, whether I feel that way or not, just because I loved your letter that much. Yeah, I'm going to press my luck with just that letter and save this next one for tomorrow's show with Elizabeth Perkins, my old pal Elizabeth Perkins, Indian Summer Reunion. Let's get to our guest now, shall we? Please welcome the lovely and talented Jason Sudeikis. Now, Jason.
Yes.
Am I correct? Did you fall asleep on the flight from Toronto, or did you finish the show?
Finish it.
Oh.
Finished 7 and 8, yeah.
All right. Thoughts?
Yeah. No, it was great, man. I blew through 1 through 5 on the way out to the Venice Film Festival. I had downloaded like 4, because you can download them through Amazon now. And then I was like, the next morning I was like, well, what if I love it? I'll just get the last 4. And I'm so glad I did. I would have been furious.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it could have, but you never know. Hotel Wi-Fi is so spotty. Like if it would have taken 6 days to get it in Italy. But then, on the way, what did I do on the way to Toronto? I think I mostly slept. No, that's when I watched it. I watched it from Venice to Toronto.
Which is not a horrible flight.
Not a horrible flight. No, not at all.
8.5, 9 hours? What are we got? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I think so. But it whisked by, thanks to you guys.
Well, that is the beauty of things we can put on our iPad.
Yes. Yeah.
This flight's over.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the way to, I watched that 3 Identical Strangers doc on the way to Venice, and a documentary about the '85 Bears.
Sure, of course you did.
Yeah, just documentaries. They run the gamut these days.
What the Bears documentary I've not seen, but I understand the working title was also Three Identical Strangers.
Yes,
which is surprising.
About Peyton Ditka and Jim McMahon, of course.
Right, of course. Tragic, that Three Identical Strangers
something else.
doc. It's extraordinary and
as a new parent, it's like I got to try harder. I got to nurture over nature. Yeah, boy, I can't just rely on my genes. I got to actually be present and listen, and everything I'm doing, good or bad, is going to come right back at me.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the deal.
Yeah,
on paper.
Yeah, on paper.
Yeah, there are two of them, two smaller versions of you and the wife.
Yep, a boy, Otis, and a little girl, Daisy.
Otis is 4.5.
4.5, yeah.
And Daisy is?
She'll be 2 on October 11th.
That's correct.
10/11.
Yeah. Had that here.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. So Venice Film Festival was for
both of the same thing. This film called Driven that we're waiting to see if someone wants to buy it. It's
keep talking.
Basically about John DeLorean. About his rise and fall, basically from 77 to 84.
I'm in.
Yeah, but we did it. The writer, a fellow named Colin Bateman, and the director came up with an interesting way to sort of tell the story where it's through my eyes, and I play a fellow named Jim Hoffman, who was the FBI informant who kind of entrapped John DeLorean, played by Lee Pace. But it's me, Judy Greer, Corey Stoll, Michael Cudlitz. It's
lovely,
just a great group. Justin Bartha plays Howard Weitzman.
What?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, this guy, Jim Hoffman, him and his wife, Ellen, who Judy plays, have been in the Witness relocation program since basically '84. And so I had to do no research. We don't know what this guy looks like. We don't know what he sounds like.
I'm a little surprised there in Witness Protection just because I didn't think of the DeLorean family as being as threatening as, say, ratting out the mafia.
Sure, but the people that
it led to.
Well, yeah, the people. This guy Morgan Hetrick that Michael Cudlitz plays was a guy that had some connections in that world. Yeah, I mean, DeLorean was fully exonerated. Of course, the car didn't. It went on to become,
famous for a movie.
Yeah, it was infamous as a car, but famous
as a movie. You can
time travel in it,
but you don't want to own one.
Yeah, exactly. You want to rent one. Just rent one, go to 88 miles per hour, go see what you look like as a kid, watch your parents have sex.
That's right.
And then come back, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we went there for that and closed out that festival, and then we went over to Toronto and tried to swim with the big boys and did a screening there and talked about it a bunch, and then came back here.
Right.
Boom, 5 days.
Since you mentioned the 88 miles an hour, it reminds me of one of my favorite movie moments and questions.
Yes.
How many cousins did Chuck Berry have named Marvin that the one who called him from the side stage needed to preface with his name?
Yeah.
It's your cousin, Marvin Berry.
Right.
I'd like to think that Chuck was on the other end saying, why the exposition?
Either from his mother or father's side. He had a Marvin on his mom's side.
Okay.
And then a Marvin on his father's side.
Yeah, but why do you need to tell me my last name?
Because
of the mother and father side.
Yeah, it's not the,
Could have been Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, whatever his wife's.
It's Lewis.
Yeah, it's Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, I went ahead and did that research.
Yeah, but great.
Before I posed the question. Come on.
It is a good question.
This shit isn't half baked.
Yeah.
Now, I'm excited to hear more about Driven. That's for damn sure.
It'll show up when it shows up. It's such an interesting time now. It's so weird to put out a movie, be in a movie now, and go like, am I going to go to this premiere? And I watched it in both places because it might be the only time you get to ever see it. I'll ever get to see it on a big screen. With an audience on a big screen.
On a big screen.
That's, and I believe in that ritual. I think it's an amazing thing to get to experience that, regardless of me being in it. I don't love watching myself, but I love watching everybody else in it. Right. And then to hear the audience respond is like we're all facing the same way, and in the dark,
it's magical.
Times. It is. It really is.
And as much as the kids want to progress with every platform possible, and God bless you for doing so, please continue going to the movie because it is. Even if it becomes a bizarre ritual. Yeah.
Which
is weird.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, is it the best?
I agree. That theater, going to see music, anything where we're all, like I said, sitting next to each other, facing the same way, or in the round, however they do it.
Yeah. When I perform live in front of an audience, I will find myself having that realization that they're all seated next to each other. And I will say to them, as a group who's not rehearsed or ever met before, you're doing really, really well.
You nailed all your cues.
Yeah.
You're nailing them.
You're doing really well because I know where the laughs are.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you do.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And
for
you
that.
haven't proved me wrong yet.
Yeah. Please continue to not do that. Okay, so you enjoyed the Maisel and the finale.
I loved it. And I hadn't seen Gilmore Girls. I have a lot of friends that loved, Miss is it Sherman Palladino?
Amy Sherman Palladino.
Yeah. Her oeuvre, and boy, it knocked me out. It was such a fun place to hang out for 5 hours and then 3 more hours. It was great.
It's beautiful and the music and
I'm just I tell you what, I'm not the biggest fan of awarding trophies for art, but I would say that for you guys to win that casting trophy, they're right on that one, in my opinion. Like, because I'm just like top down. I was like, dang.
Alan Arkin, I think, had the best acceptance speech, which he ultimately did not use when he won for Best Supporting Actor in Argo. Mm-hmm. He threatened to use this speech, and he did not. But it's still my favorite. So the winner is Alan Arkin. He comes up. Thank you very much. Can I just say, I want to say 2 things. First of all, pitting artists against each other is the most heinous thing you can do to the community. It's not why any of us do this. We certainly don't appreciate being held up for scrutiny, one against the other. And secondly, I'd like to say this is the greatest moment of my entire life. Thank you. I mean, that's
great.
He did not say it for Argo, but he told me on their show that was his 20-year planned acceptance speech, and then the son of a bitch didn't use it. So now I am.
So it's up for grabs. Yeah. Whichever one of us gets there first,
That's right.
I'll boycott it. But I mean, I know you love that juice.
I do. And you just acted in a film directed by your wife.
Yes,
this happened not too long ago.
Yeah. No,
what's going on with that?
Yeah, Liv, she's editing it now. I mean, I just play a small part. It's mostly about it's all 85% teenagers. It's for an elevator pitch or a moving sidewalk pitch. It's super bad for ladies. It's about the 2 number 1 and 2 in their class, played by Caitlin Deaver and Beanie Feldstein. Realize on the last day of school that they've spent so much time worrying about their future, they haven't lived in the present, so they're going to take the last day of school before graduation to blow it the F out, and the hijinks ensue. But I mean, we got a bunch of our friends playing all the adult parts, from Will Forte and Lisa Kudrow playing Caitlin's parents. I play their principal. Our good buddy Mike O'Brien, who worked on SNL and created AP Bio, he plays a pizza delivery guy. You got Jessica Williams as their favorite teacher, Miss Fine. Oh, so that's all the adults, but I mean the kids steal the show, and it was so even just when they show like at the wrap party, we've got to go to those a handful of times, right? They invite you to those still, right? Yeah, me too. And then they show clips of the film. Liv did basically 3 songs where there's like 9 minutes, and when I'm watching it, I was like, this thing looks kick-ass. And it was so great to see like fresh faces, young guys and gals that I hadn't seen, that I've never met except for on set,
just good.
That good, and just that original. I'm could not be more proud of her. It fit her like a glove, the role, and so now she's editing and doing all that. That's why we're out here, and but yeah, no, I mean, it's
shot it out here.
Yep, shot it out here. Got to shoot it out here.
Right,
yeah.
That's what the family picked up from the Brooklyn and moved out here for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've been out here for off and on for a few months now. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it'll be Book Smart is what it's called as of now, but it's it's a big old deal. It's Annapurna and Gloria Sanchez, so.
Buddy,
I'm really excited for it.
Has that ever crossed your plate or mine to direct something?
Are you asking me if the final moments of the first season finale resonated with me from your show? Like elements of having a partner who might actually be better at what your dream would be.
That really wasn't what I was saying.
No.
I think it's interesting.
Maybe I'm still swimming around in that beautiful world.
I think
with Vic Damone on the the soundtrack to all of it. I would love to at some point. I mean, I'm far too opinionated to not at some point, try to walk the walk there. You're talking about directing, right?
I am, but the reason I asked.
Yes, please.
I'm allegedly doing it yet again in January.
Great. According
to the Variety announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that everything you've learned already
Right.
are the instincts that will suit you best on set. And because you have such a specific take on your work that we as fans can see, it's whether or not you want to do it and when you want to do it, as opposed to whether or not you can.
Right. Well, that's nice you say. There's
No,
a
but
little bit of. You're doing your second one, or
Yeah, the first one was a documentary,
right?
Which is just a talking heads documentary called Misery Loves Comedy, and I talked to like 60 annoyingly funny
Yes.
people about whether or not you have to be miserable to be funny.
Yes.
And
I don't think you do, but
as it turns out, I know you don't.
Yeah.
But man, is it fun to watch those who are talk about it.
try to act like no.
Yeah. Or just lean into it. And also the people that I didn't think would be miserable talk about, like Jim Gaffigan. I don't think of him. Misery doesn't seem to be a part of his comedy.
Yeah.
Even though he's complaining constantly about the misery of everyday life,
right,
which is great.
Yep.
So that was one of the lessons there. And then I was a gun-for-hire director on a little comedy about a year and a half ago that sold to Netflix, the way that a lot of these movies end up. And that was a very important experience because I was a gun-for-hire and I was in control of anything.
Right.
And I answered to a producer who I ended up having zero respect for, which it was a very important lesson.
Yes.
And also to learn on someone else's dime before I go out looking for money
100%,
to do something on my own. So that was a good lesson.
When did the lack of respect manifest? Like during pre-production, production, or post?
During filming.
Yeah.
So it was a comedy, as I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And she hired me. She got the money. She's a producer. I respect that.
Right.
But when it came to what we were shooting and why it was funny, that wasn't her bailiwick.
Yeah.
But she still had a very strong opinion about all of it. And, we deal with those.
Yeah.
That's part of the soup.
I always refer to them as people that stick their fingers in pies and then act like they baked them.
That's pretty good.
It's kind of like, well, no, I bought the apples and the crust.
Pretty good.
Like,
also, the savant level of ability they have to find the chi of the piece.
Yeah.
And that's where they add the water.
I know. Something.
But to actually find it and go, no, we'll add water here.
Yeah.
But that's you found the
I know.
center.
Yeah.
So it was on the last setup at 2:30 a.m., knowing we had to get on planes at 6:30 to fly back to Los Angeles. It was on the last setup that I finally broke my spirit of kindness and turned to her. Never told this story. And turned to her and said, I'm sorry, you'll have to attend a class 7 days a week for 6 months that I teach to begin to understand why I know this is funny.
Yeah.
I've never said any of that, any part of that out loud before.
Nor should you have
to
be honest.
She honestly broke me.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of laugh about it now.
Well, you're a gentleman for lasting that long. I regardless of it being a male or female, I just think in general, like I think a lot of people that those fights end up becoming family fights about halfway through the process. And if you've been dealing with a person like through pre-production and all that, like then that usually would come quicker. But on the acting side, like I find a lot of times the things that just the yes-anding and the supportive element of it, we're all on the same side, and then you start to realize about halfway through, oh, wait a minute, no. And then you start to be like, I really hate the way this person chews their food at lunch. And you're like, oh, no, this has nothing to do with anything. Oh, my gosh, what's going on? And then, depending on how good you are at self-examination and a moment's notice, then you're like, okay, what do? I pump the brakes here? Do I pedal the metal?
Well, that was the other thing that I would encourage you to consider is you go from gun for hire. And you may have found this already in producing things, but gun for hire to I'm going to draw on all my instincts that I've gathered to work in every department with department heads.
Yeah.
And then you're just challenged in ways that you've never been challenged before.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I feel the universe is telling me that in lots of different ways.
Oh,
so
good.
I'm going to have to respond to it at some point.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, happily.
Let's talk a little bit about a youth, a growing up.
Yeah. What do you
in
want
KC, a good kid, troublemaker. What are we talking about?
I mean, good kid with good potential, but I mean, I got in a fair amount of trouble. Nothing, no drugs or alcohol.
Didn't do any time.
No, well, that's not true. No,
wait a second,
I did.
wait for
I arrested 3 times. No,
Sure.
I got. You know, I spent a night in Bourbon County Holding Facility when I got arrested for, being with a group of guys that tried to break into a car wash change machine. You know, victimless crime.
Yeah.
But
we stole the giant Midas muffler guy.
Yeah.
For senior prank.
Yeah, the Michelin guy.
Well, no, it was a guy holding a big muffler. He must have been.
Yeah.
At least 15 feet tall.
That's fair.
He ended up on the roof of the gym.
That's great.
Where he, I think, was.
Yeah. A well-done prank has a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the end was the local police.
Yeah, well, that'll happen. Was there any threat of you guys not getting to walk, like at graduation or anything like that? Yeah.
Oh, big
I
time.
had that I got that threat. I got asked to host my senior year our drill team's dance extravaganza, the spring extravaganza.
Yes.
And the whole premise was, the high school stage was made to look like a television, around the sides.
Right.
And then I was the host, and so I put my script inside of a TV guide and had a remote control. And I'd never done anything like this before, but I'd done speech and debate, and then I went on.
Who came up with all that, by the way?
Me. That was me. And then it was like, a couple jokes I stole from like the internet, something about harassment because it was all around the time of, Bill Clinton. I think the Paula Jones even before Lewinsky because I graduated in '94. So, Bob Packwood and Bill Clinton just realized that harass was one word, stuff like that kind of thing. That wasn't too bad. But then I remember there was one, I flipped to should we check out the Golf Channel? And then, that reminds me of a story. And I start to tell this joke. And the joke goes, it's basically like the fast version of it is, a pro's helping this gal out and watches her swing, been giving her lessons and watches her drive on hole 1, wishes her luck, says, all right, let me know when you get done with 18, come back and tell me. About 10 minutes later, she comes scurrying back and she goes, I got stung by a bee. And he's like, where? Between hole number 1 and hole number 2.
Oh, no.
And that's literally where my father, Dan, and you know him, you've met him, wanted to just yell from the audience, don't do it. He didn't. Because the punchline is, well, the problem is, sweetie, your stance is too wide. Kills. I had a little old lady, just
pass out?
Come up to me afterwards going, I love the golf joke. Next day.
Jordan's doubled over, by the way. Exactly. Our engineer, Jordan, is doubled over. I've never seen her laugh this hard.
It was...
big golf fan.
Yeah. Then right. Principal Kruger brought me in the next day. Jason, I don't know if we're going to allow you to walk. I don't think we're going to get a diploma. Now, what he doesn't know is that I was going to be ineligible anyway and would have to go to summer school. So I was never getting that diploma anyway. But walking, the perception of graduating,
yes,
very important to me and my
dangled
parents.
It.
My mom more than my dad, maybe. It would all make for a good story now, but no, they still let me walk. But he dangled it. Dangled it, yeah.
Man.
And I've heard from many people that evidently I've heard that my diploma is actually still at the high school, like in a drawer somewhere. I don't know if
in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know if Principal Kruger's still there. I've sort of lost touch with all that. But
Principal Kruger, if you're out there somewhere, please write to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com.
And send a JPEG of the thing so I know it's okay.
Yes, please. Oh, but man.
Yeah, so that was...
Send me a PDF, but you can send a JPEG too. So you were that kid. Well, this is the thing. Class clown, though. You're in the yearbook, I'm guessing.
I mean, they didn't define it that way, but we didn't get superlatives. I mean, a little bit, but I had really funny kids. I mean, I don't know about you, but my whole secret was just hanging out with people smarter than me and funnier than me, more talented than me. It's still my bag. I still want to be the dumbest person in any room. Today's a little bit of a underwhelming, but
as it should be.
Yeah, well, not Jordan.
Yeah. No, Jordan and I have spoken about this. Neither one of us are proud.
But I just had tons of funny friends, so I couldn't say that I was like the singular class clown. I think.
Right. But you were challenged.
Oh, 100%.
Right, to raise the level.
Absolutely, to keep up, to do whatever.
Because the thing is, once you're in that group, or once you're around the one who's the funniest that you've determined as such, the joy of making that person laugh.
Oh, it's the best.
Because and then it just follows you.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was on The Tonight Show with Carson, the best compliment was, Johnny really likes you.
100%.
It wasn't about a bit. It wasn't about an impersonation.
Amen.
Nothing. It was just Johnny really liked you because I went after the cool kid who I thought was hilarious and tried to make him laugh.
Yeah. No, the people that I hold near and dear to my as heroes, and in some instances eventually coworkers, and then maybe even friends, are the ones that mean the most to me. Like to hear that Letterman enjoyed having me on there, or Conan would have me on all the time, and
sure,
like Norm Macdonald, paying me a compliment, after auditioning for Weekend Update and him seeing my audition, like all those kind of Tina.
What did he say?
Yeah. I mean, what did he say? I mean,
Yeah.
It's not your idea. It was the best because it was the day of we had all these tests and everybody. It was Tina had left and look, this is just his opinion and he may take it back now.
But at the time, I'm just asking for a quote.
He was regaling these wonderful stories of sketches. A sketch of his that died at read through. He goes, "Hey, ever that like when people say that they make that joke that they did off Broadway, like off Broadway." He goes, "I wrote this sketch where I was like a guy that just said off." And then it was like 3 pages of him just saying off, and the only way that he could with his timing and his whole voice and everything. And he told us the story the whole way down the elevator from the 17th floor. He was hanging out in Steve Higgins' office, and then right out front of 30 Rock there, like coming out it says Rainbow Room underneath that sign. He's going left towards Fifth Avenue, and Eric and I are going right. He just looks at. He goes, "Hey, by the way, I watched your auditions for Update." He goes, "You were the best one. You should get it." And then walked away. And I was just like,
just left you in the night.
I was like, that's
yeah.
I mean, and again, that's you may take it back now. But that more importantly, I mean, Seth ended up getting it. Seth and Amy and fantastic. And I sort of lost track of Seth post SNL. I don't know what he's doing now, but he Amy too.
He'll be fine.
Boy, that show,
okay.
It eats you up. No, but we. But boy, that meant as much to me as anything. But Bill Murray,
yes,
like saying,
yes.
Bill Murray, the 40th at SNL was such a neat time to meet. I mean, I have a great photo of Will Ferrell and Eddie Murphy shaking hands from Good Nights that I took. I'm about 2 feet away from it. I'm just like, when heroes meet.
Yes.
That's who I wanted to be when I grow up. That's who I hope to be when I grow up. Those two dudes at different phases of my life are just amazing. And then Bill Murray to say something nice about, what was it? We're the Millers.
So
you played that movie with that. Every scene you had a lot of top spin. I was like, oof.
Oh, man.
I love that. I don't even know what that means.
Baby.
It gave me enough confidence to walk over to Chris Rock, who I know a little bit, we're friendly, to walk over to, and he was staying with Eddie, to introduce myself to Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I was just like, well, I'm going to go meet.
I got top spin.
Woo! Yeah, exactly.
I got top spin.
I'm going to take this sweaty palm right over here.
There's something perfect about the oddity of choices of words that defines Bill Murray just to say he had a lot of good top spin.
Yeah. I've tried, and then after
you tried to make that word work?
I tried to, what do you do? What am I going to do? Stop and go, excuse me, what do you mean by that?
No, you're not. You're not going to do that.
But he gave me, oh man, you'd love this. I got, a month before the 40th, I used to do the warm-up, even though I never really done stand-up. I used to get, Lauren asked me to do the warm-up before, after my first season. And I think Norm used to do it, Jimmy used to do it, play guitar, sing a song. I would do a little bit raise your hand if you've never been here before, and raise your hand if you're here for the first time. A lot of the same people, boilerplate.
Sure. But works.
Oh, it's great. It's a great joke, and Illusion the first time, all that fun stuff.
Stance is a little wide. Did that one make the cut?
No, that one, no. Hey, never went back to it. I'm gun shy. But Lauren asked me, and I go, and I was like, no, man, I can't do this is the 40. The greatest stand-ups in the world are gonna be. Sarah Silverman's gonna be Louis there.
Yeah.
Spade would crush that room. Colin Quinn. Why me?
Yeah.
He goes, well, you were always really good at. I go, yeah, but not this one. About a week before, he asked again. I was like, fine, I'll do it. I tell you, man, I got a photo of it. Everybody is up talking to someone. It was like the Golden Globes. I saw Keith. I literally felt brazen enough to look at Keith Richards and Jack Nicholson in the crowd saying, Keith,
Yeah.
Jack, if you guys sit down and pay attention to me, everybody else will start following suit. Nothing. Nobody was paying, nothing. Zach, I'm friendly with Galifianakis, is sitting 8 feet away from me, dying at how bad I'm bombing.
Yes.
And no one's paying the least bit of fucking attention to me.
To a fellow comedian, there's no greater joy.
But this isn't even my lane, man.
No.
I don't even like the assumption that it is. And I'm just plowing through it. Lauren comes up finally right down center field and comes up. He goes, do you want me to try to, reel him in? I go, yeah, man. I go, this is exactly what I was talking about. So he starts to walk up to the mic. I go, hold on, let me introduce you. And he laughs. And he goes, because Lauren's another good fun guy to make. I always enjoy making laugh.
Sure.
And I go, let me introduce you. And it's literally pandemonium. Like, we're still, 10 minutes away from going live, so everybody's like, doesn't give a shit, and I go, folks, I'm gonna introduce someone that none of us would be here without. Please put your hands together and give your full attention to Dick Ebersol. And Bill Murray walks right in front of me, and just gives me a thumbs up. And I was like, well, that's great.
Wow.
I was like, that's all I need. That's why I did the warm up.
That's right.
Lauren laughs, he does it. Everyone. Like a vacuum shuts the hell up when Dad starts talking, and then I just at the end was like, have fun tonight.
Sure.
Nobody fuck up.
Sure.
Whatever. What do? You talk to a bunch of icons. Like, who am I? Like,
that is the weird byproduct of the biz.
Yeah.
Is you'll meet a hero.
Yes.
That stops you in your tracks and takes away your breath, and then they say something complimentary. It flies in the face of reality.
Yep.
And never lose track of how mind-blowing those.
Never. Yeah. I don't think I ever can, ever will. No, it means the world to me. I mean, at that point, we do comedy, but then I think, we also got, other stories to tell that maybe don't fall under that category at Blockbuster Video.
That's right.
And yet, and you move away from certain things, or you turn your back on the light of comedy and sort of see what else is cooking. When I have people come up and sort of say something kind about the comedy and how it got them through this, that, or the other, something they were going through, or something, their partner or their kid was going through, especially when we're back home in Kansas City doing Big Slick, it just makes you feel like that, how important comedy is. Because I know how big it was for me, from a personal relationship of the people I gravitated towards, trying to make them laugh, them making me laugh. But then I always refer to as kind of like the uncles I grew up with. The people I like, Bill Murray or Chevy Chase.
When they come from comedy Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, along these same lines,
please,
we have a segment on the show called Famous Questions.
Yes.
The questions themselves, not terribly famous.
Yeah.
The people I've reached out to ask a question specifically of you.
Okay, wow. Gotcha.
Do come from the world of fame.
Famous people have asked
you a question.
Oh, wow, great.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So I'm not going to tell you who this is.
Do I get ever?
You'll kind of know immediately.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Sally Shipley story?
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what it is. Okay. What is my favorite? I mean, Sally Shipley was, John Keating from Dead Poets Society, Mr. Holland, from Mr. Holland's Opus. I mean, one of those kinds of teachers that at Shawnee Mission West, the high school that I eventually graduated from that summer of '94. She taught speech and debate, forensics, and she was like John Wooden. We didn't know this. I went into this. I took this class, radio and TV, because I saw it on basic cable in Kansas, like always the show. I was like, I want to take that class. And I walk in, and it's just surrounded up top, like with trophies and plates. Like she had won Wimbledon, 40 years in a row, and they had won forensics state championship 10 out of the last 11 years. So I mean, literally, the comparison to John Wooden is not me being hyperbolic. And she. The person that I assume maybe this question came from, Paul Rudd, was very successful.
I have Ant-Man, but yes.
Oh,
we'll also accept Paul Rudd.
You put in your notes just in case you remember. It's like, I still have object of my affection for him. I got to keep up with his more recent movies. I still have that Anderson movie as the one that I think of when I think of Paul. That's how I remember what he looks like.
Let it go.
What is my favorite memory? I mean, she was one of those teachers you wanted to make laugh, and she was one of those people that gave you space to be creative and asked more of you, like any good coach or teacher or mentor or even friend or partner that saw more in you than maybe one's baggage would allow. And she was like one of those people. I remember her showing me a video of Paul, and I think Paul knows this. I'm sure we've spoken about, but showed me a video of when Paul was at the high school many years before me.
How many are we talking?
Oh, God. I mean, Don't let that beautiful bone structure and skin fool you. That guy's old as shit. No, and showed me this great, bit of him for the news show that they would do, running around the school and being hilarious and inventive, both editing-wise and playing multiple characters. And she was like, you can do stuff like this.
But shorter than you think.
Yeah. Well, not back then. His hair, he had very good 80s hair.
Now, he actually posed about 11 questions.
That's amazing.
So let's go down the list and make these rapid fire.
Please, okay, I'll do better.
What is the second best barbecue in KC?
Oh, second best, I would say, let's say Jack Stack. Let's say Jack Stack.
Okay. Funniest named royal, current or past?
Steve Balboni.
Correct. Funniest named chief, current or past?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, Christian Okoye?
I had Sitting Bull.
Oh, yeah.
Funniest name Jayhawk, current or past?
Oh, funniest name Scooter Barry.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
What did you learn about the travel agency business from your mother, Kathy?
That relationships with people matter more than money. That's true, though.
Of course it is.
I know it's not even funny.
Great.
It's true, though.
It's so great.
She didn't get paid a lot, but boy, we got spoiled rotten wherever we went somewhere. People are always happy to see her, and yeah, it's great.
Just 6 more questions real quick.
Yeah.
When your Uncle George comes into the room, does everyone say, George, like they did when he was Norm?
Surprisingly, no.
Yeah. Weird, they don't.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest pronunciation of your name you've ever heard?
Probably like Helms.
Also correct.
No, Sudeikis would probably be. I never got Sudeikis, at least not to my face. Maybe I was,
Definitely not to your face.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you never know. I mean,
well, I do. And lastly, what if God's a leaf?
Oh boy, yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. Well, then I've been sorely then I was misinformed.
Yeah. I mean, fall's beautiful and magical.
Absolutely.
But I'm not sure I can bite all of that.
Yeah.
This one from Lisa Kudrow, who you mentioned just a bit ago.
Absolutely.
I asked her.
Yeah.
We have Jason Sudeikis on the chat show today. The segment is called Famous Questions, which is questions from a famous friend. Would you contribute? She wrote, sure. How? Written, right? And then writes, which is your favorite Friends episode? Do you prefer Rachel or Phoebe?
Okay.
Just curious is all.
Yeah, I mean, they say, dance with the one that brung you. So I'll say, Smelly Cat and Phoebe?
Sure.
Yeah.
Both correct?
Yeah.
You did one of my favorite episodes of Who Do You Think You Are? Which she produces.
Which she produces, so yeah, that's high praise.
Did we meet? I don't remember.
No.
Or you seem nice. Are you?
I've met her. I appreciate that. I'd like to. I aim to be, which is half the battle. Right?
Sure.
Yeah. I prefer when I leave a room that not just people are speaking about me, but they say nice things.
Yeah.
Which I think is,
I don't ever want to be
worthwhile mentioning
on
these
the
days.
other side of that.
Yeah, I don't think it's sexy just as long as they're talking about me. I mean, you could get you to the White House, I guess, sure, but boy, oh boy, I don't know. It's a lonely funeral if you ask me.
I am asking you.
Yeah.
As it turns out.
Yeah.
This one from J.K. Simmons.
Love it. Oh my goodness, boy.
Are there any other famous, talented, good-looking actors you're dying to work with whose initials are J.K.?
Boy, oh boy, that's a very good question. I mean, he's probably top of the list.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I can't even. Can you think of another J.K.?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither.
He wins.
None of it.
I wonder if that's how he carefully chose to call himself J.K.
Yeah, he's like, never have to worry about it with SAG. He's like, I'm the only J.K. that exists.
Yeah,
and then J.K. became a brief way to say just kidding, and now the kids talk.
He's very upset about.
Boy, oh boy.
Taryn Killam's going to take us home here.
Love it.
What was your favorite SNL host dinner and why?
The host dinners were amazing times, and I got to go to a lot of them. I think Lauren liked having me there but they did take you away 3 hours from writing night. So I don't know.
Most people can assume what it might mean, but go ahead and give a brief description of just what the hell
it's on a Tuesday night on writing night at about 8 o'clock during my time there at least. Lindsay Shookus would corral the cast. It wasn't the whole cast every time. It was usually like 5 of us, and then a couple of the producers, Steve Higgins, and then you'd have the host, and maybe sometimes like when Tim McGraw hosts, it's also his wife Faith Hill, which is lovely
bonus.
But it's whenever, and then you get to hear, and I learn through repetition, so I don't mind when people ask Lauren for stories, and maybe he goes into one that I've had the opportunity to hear before because I just remember it better, and
yeah.
But you get to see like them as human beings a little bit more, and also we would talk about all sorts of stuff. It wasn't just scuttlebutt or about the show. Sometimes they would ask about the show, but a lot of times you just get into just like what's on TV, what's going on now, and it was always cool. As far as my favorite, I'm trying to think. I mean, it would probably be getting to hang out with someone that I, like someone like a Tom Hanks or Will Ferrell, someone that I just, I think are super talented and fascinating, and then just gentlemen to boot. That was always a good time.
And which one was most difficult to watch them chew their food?
Oh boy, Halle Berry. Just you can't watch.
It's kind of what everyone has said so far.
Other than that, beautiful woman. Just don't watch her eat.
Nope.
Very talented, very beautiful, lovely, but just boy, oh boy, yeah, no, it was crazy. It was quinoa, so it was like I don't know if most of it just ended up on the floor.
Sure. Also, the name of my 4th book, most of it just ended up on the floor. Who along the way said, "Fuck you, you'll never make it the loudest"?
Probably me.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like that's
Yes.
in trying to prove yourself wrong. No, people have always been very, very encouraging. I think maybe to a point that I've second guessed it the entire time and continue to.
Yeah, well, I don't know what kind of acting training you had. I came up through stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So I felt I was quite comfortable in front of people.
Right.
And also the idea of attending an acting class. I hated school, so a class taught about.
I know.
And I didn't want to ever. Today we're a tree. Mm-hmm. That was not going to happen.
We had a fellow in our sketch group who I gave a lot of guff to, who was insanely talented and said some very important things to me personally that definitely shaped the man that I ended up becoming, because I was the youngest in this group. But when it was his turn to run, sketch rehearsal, we would go into stuff like that because he was in the thick of it at Kansas Drama School, and I always just had a adverse reaction to it in a horrible way.
Yeah.
In a way that I apologize.
Well, it's silliness and stubbornness,
Yeah.
and also, you're just a little too self-aware and inhibited, and
It's what it was literally there to try to break me of, which I was like, how dare you?
Yeah. And I also had the 23-year-old ego to say, why would I take a class from an actor who's out of work?
Oh. You said that to someone, or you just felt that?
When a comedian friend of mine said, you got to get into an acting class.
Yeah.
That was the stupid foolish.
I really fought against coming through the sketch and improv world in Chicago, specifically improv training, because I don't have, I've never really took an acting class either. Everybody encouraging me to play characters, to do a different thing. And I always had that exact same age, 23-year-old arrogance, having done all these shows in Kansas City before showing up there, being like, yeah, but this isn't high school, we're not doing the Crucible. If I ever did the Crucible, they'll hire an old guy. You're not going to put makeup on me. Like, I am me. I'm the only me. And it's one of those things that I really believe in. It's one of the reasons, like, Di Vernon's this great, magician they call the Professor, and he had his whole mantra was be natural. And what he meant by that was be yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's the hardest thing to teach. It's the hardest thing to get rid of. Even if your natural self is bullshit, like, at least it's naturally bullshit and naturally yours.
Yeah.
But I really pushed against it. And that's how any sort of acting stamina or chops that I have is based on me doing thousands and thousands of scenes as myself in the most ridiculous situations around, again, because I'm smart about it, the funniest people in Chicago, like, and
well, we were also training in our different fields of sketch and stand-up and improv, just how to be present.
Yes.
Without knowing that's what we were training
100%
to do.
Yeah.
And then actors will go to school their whole lives to try to tear everything away and be present.
Yeah.
So I feel like we were after the same goal.
It's really neat when you do get to meet people because I do have envy of people that have studied in that foundation and that ability, whether it's their diction or their ability to memorize or
cry on cue. How do you do that?
I know all that stuff. and yet it's all just vocabulary. Like when you sit down with anybody that knows anything well enough, and you start talking, then you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of like I say this, we say this in our you know, and then you start to figure that out, and then that imposter syndrome that comes with being an artist, and God forbid, you know, have some modicum of success, like. You're like, oh, okay, I know more than I realize, and I can replicate it. It hasn't just been luck when I look in the rearview mirror. Like that's actually based on choices that I made, whether prior to taking the gig or while taking the gig or whatever the case may be, which is comforting, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask about who might have said fuck you along the way is because when I first got to LA from San Francisco, where I had risen to the top of the scene as a stand-up comedian and felt so very, very confident, and came to Los Angeles, sort of like graduating junior high and getting to high school. And there was a woman who was a manager and saw me do stand-up one night and said, do you have aspirations to be an actor? And I said, that's actually why I moved here. And she said, well, if you'd like, come to my office and I'll give you a scene to do. We'll see where you're at. And I did. And I was given what I later, of course, knew to be called sides, a couple of pages of a scene. I went into the outer office and I worked on them, having no idea what that meant to work on them. And I came back in and did the scene. I finished. She looked at me for a couple of beats and said words that I'll never forget, which is why the question is asked. The words were, well, listen, acting's not for everyone. The stand-up's going great, though, right?
Yeah. And
I didn't even realize, because I kind of laughed when she said it.
Yeah, I would hope. Yeah. So what else do you do? You'd be like, what?
It's like the first time.
You brought me here to be mean to me? Like
it's like the first time I mean, she was super sincere and not even an attempt to be gruff.
No, that's
it was really trying to be helpful. Listen, it's not for everyone. It's okay.
Right.
And then, you know, maybe you should attend classes kind of thing. But you know, the first time you're on a talk show panel and you do the pre-interview over the phone with the segment producer, and you're basically auditioning your anecdotes.
Yes.
And you'll finish one, just a wonderful story that happened recently, and you'll hear a pause followed by, what else you got?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just a terrific feeling. People see us on talk shows and have no idea that sort of life readjusting
it's such a
moment.
Weird thing.
Hey, you guys asked me to do the show.
Yeah, that would be a goal, to be like one of those, as they call them, we hear no pre.
Yeah.
Like just someone that comes in. But I think I got to bring it more. But did you read that profile that New York Magazine, I believe, did with Martin Short probably about a year ago?
No.
It's great. I happen to have his email, so I emailed. He's just a badass. And I mean, well known for bringing it every time he's on one of those things, regardless of, you know, where it is, not just for one person. And it's like, boy, what he puts into it, and like, you know, when people give a damn on those things and look at it as like, here, this is a gig. This is an 8-minute gig where I'm going to come in and crush it.
Yeah,
and
he's got jokes prepared.
In
the guise of conversation.
Amazing things. I mean, I remember one that just floored me was Letterman asked him, so you've got children? He goes, yeah, we got 3 children, one of each. Just real quick, just tosses it in there. Dave is the only one that kind of hears it. You're just like, golly.
Yeah.
And then gets up and like crushes a song with like a whole dance routine, and then, you know,
a consummate,
yeah. But that's a guy that, you know, that's a no pre. I got a long way to go before I'm one of those cats. I just want to do that because I skew lazy.
And thank you for agreeing to the pre on this one.
Absolutely.
Early audition days. So you get from Chicago to where? New York?
No, Chicago. Well, Kansas City started.
Sure.
I auditioned for 1 or 2 things there, but then Chicago was when me moving to Chicago was me saying I want to try to become an actor. I mean, it was through the improv world, but then early on there, you know, you get to go see something at the Goodman or Steppenwolf. Like when I saw 3 Days of Rain with Tracy Letts as the lead, I mean, it knocked my socks off, and then you start auditioning for commercials and stuff, and that was never my bag. I didn't have it in me. I got the headshots and everything, but I was there to.
Did you have the composition headshot with the 4 different?
No, just one. I don't have that much range. Couldn't give him 4 different looks. No,
I'll see if I can remember mine.
Yeah,
I was tossing a pizza up in the air.
Great.
In one.
Yeah.
I had a fishing tackle and the outfit in another. I on a tennis court at the net holding the racket.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I think I was just in a payphone. Just
That's great. Those are you know
on the phone with making a face.
You're 4 different essences. You're just like, yeah, I can play ethnic.
Wow, so this guy
I can do. I can be white collar.
He
guy,
can play tennis.
You know?
He's athletic, and he chose tennis to prove it.
He's from the he's from the big city, but he fishes.
That's right.
And also he's got he can look good on a phone. He can be an informant. He could play a reporter.
What are we talking about?
I know
here?
exactly.
He's just shy of Clark Kent.
Yeah, mine was just one. It's the only headshot I've ever had. I still probably got 100 of them because the only reason you would have them were for commercial auditions at all these different places. And I'd show up with with beard and glasses on, look totally different. I only get booked one commercial when I was there. It was for Lee's famous recipe. It was like a fried chicken place in the South, and I went down. I remember getting to go down to New Orleans and
Holy cow.
and shot it, and that was and I got it because I auditioned for another one, and the director happened to be in the room for the callback, and he thought it was funny, and then they hired me for a completely different commercial, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a hustle I just didn't have in me, and maybe it's just the fear of failure and whatnot that I never fully.
You saw beyond it.
I don't know if that's true. I think
so. One of the things we learned is make your choices specific.
Yes,
it's like the greatest lesson.
Yeah,
and I don't ever remember anyone saying that, but rather learning by observing and then applying.
Yeah,
and when I watch another talented person make a very specific choice that was clearly their own, or so it seems, it just lodges in the memory bank and never goes away.
Right.
And for me, the first one watching you on SNL was when you were in a tracksuit. I think it was red.
Yep.
And What's Up With That?
Sure.
Is the sketch. And just very simple, I'm going to say it, unnecessary dance moves occurred.
Yes.
And I just thought, yeah, that's someone who brought something to a sketch. I don't know that it was in the notes.
The only thing that was in there was Jason hip hop dances. It was Fred plays saxophone, Jason hip hop dances, and here's the thing about this. I think that you're such a specific target for this, so I apologize to your readers. So maybe this will be indulgent on their side, but for you will get this 100%. I mean, I played basketball. There was a time there I was on an AAU team that was 3 white kids, 9 black kids. This was at the height of like In Living Color when Jim Carrey was the only Caucasian fella on a great new sketch show. He was lighting the place up. And I felt I was like the funny white guy, and so I used to dance. I knew how to do all the '90s hip hop dance because of the music I listened to at that time, the company that I kept, and watching like House Party over and over. So I used to do that to make my teenage friends laugh.
Sure.
And never try to get into a dance squad or a dance battle or anything like that. Then cut to like college, a year that I was ineligible my freshman year to play basketball, and so I did a play second semester, and they added like a little dance thing. Then cut to literally the week before I was hired for SNL, we did a behind the music sketch when Tom Brady hosted of us playing, and Riggle was there of the Super Bowl Shuffle, and I played the Butler, Kevin Butler, I believe his name was, the kicker, and it was Jim McMahon decided to go solo, and so it's Tom Brady, and then me just dancing in the background, doing the exact same dancing that I had done as a kid,
right? And
then cut to like this sketch, What Up With That? And it says Jason Sudeikis hip hop, Jason hip hop dances, and it is hands down, age, race, gender. The number one thing people ask me about or talk about to me is that thing.
You're kidding.
Is that sketch 100%, hands down, easily. Like I've seen children dressed up like my character from there. There's a T-shirt. I have like an emoji of that character.
Wow.
And that's coming from a cast of like with Bill and Andy and Kristen and Fred and Will and Keenan, like if I squeezed out one, I got my one. That's great. That's not never what I was necessarily going to be known for, but that's mine. And the thing that I get the most jazzed about in regards to that sketch is when I jump in. Like that was me having gone to done all these thousands of shows in Kansas City and Chicago, gone to IO and the Annoyance and Second City, and worked for all this way up, and I'm on the peak of sketch comedy mountain at SNL, and like that's me learning the frame and asking the stage manager and and then there was a monitor there knowing exactly where, so it looked like I'm dropping in. Like that's me orchestrating and weaving this whole like, tapestry of like my craft, and thinking that was the funniest part of it for me personally. And all people want to talk about is the dancing, and it's like it's such a wonderful lesson to be like that's the joy when you used to do it just to make your buddies laugh,
right.
after a loss, right. And even more so after a win. Like that's what you would do after the coach was yelling at you guys, and you'd be this goofball. And that's a lovely lesson. I try to get back to that all the time. But yeah, that thing specifically was. The choice I made was the outfit I was wearing, the shoes, the shoes. Yeah, that was a very specific, and then the dookie rope as it was called, the gold chain, and the wig were all my specific choices. Yeah, but yeah.
I mean, we still talk also about clearly Bill Hader, who's
yes, of course,
former guest of this show as well, as Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah,
just such a specific, ridiculous. Thing.
It's great.
And
that thing started. That sketch. I remember we did Gerard Butler, the first episode. I had a sketch one commercial break later where it was Kristen playing one of not one of her famous characters, but a wild wacky character. I'm sitting at a desk where Gerard is, where you are, and I'm here, and then Kristen keeps entering the scene behind me as this character, and I mean, Seth loved watching it the next week. He was having everybody watch it because I am pouring with sweat. It looked like the scene was about all the cocaine my character had done before this thing started. And I'm literally, because it's the only cardio I did for 10 years I worked at SNL was that damn skit. And so I was just drenched, sweating through like my suit in like a moment's notice as my father's son, because he's a sweater himself. So it was, that thing. But it was my favorite thing to do because it was like the one that we had, our generation had, that when the set started to come together, and I've talked about this before, like the audience would start to get fired up.
Yes.
It was always right after Update. So like,
Prime.
It was such a great, everybody would score, and then we started to get these more and more outrageous guests that we wouldn't let talk. And just like the meta joke of that is fantastic when you have literally Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. And then Bill is Lindsey Buckingham. Yeah, we got the real Lindsey Buckingham at some point. I mean,
That's right.
It's that thing is great. That's
and
all.
Of course, what Keenan was doing was just
remarkable. Remarkable. I mean, he does it.
It was a comedy clinic.
He makes it look too easy. Yeah, that was his. I think the sketch was his idea, and then it was him and like Brian Tucker and Rob Klein, I believe. There might be another name on there that came up with that. But yeah, that thing.
Yeah,
joyful times.
But in the research, I was a little surprised to hear about your obsessed efforts, never, to my understanding, reached as a goal of becoming a permanent member of the Blue Man Group.
Yeah.
You, in fact, moved to Las Vegas.
But not for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing Second City there at the Flamingo.
Okay.
Yeah. We were doing shows for like 8 people at a time because we didn't do a lot of advertising.
What year is this?
That would have been February of 2001. Correct. I was there from February 2001 to September 2003. That's where I ended up moving from there to go work at SNL. I auditioned for the show there and then got hired as a writer in like September 2003.
You moved full-blownsies to Vegas while doing the improv show.
Yeah, well, because you asked that earlier, but I went to Chicago. That's when I want to be an actor. And then at some point there, then I moved to Amsterdam to do Boom Chicago for 4 months, right at the end of 2000. And then while there, they're saying, hey, we're opening up a second city in Las Vegas. Would you want to be part of that cast? It signed a 6-month, contract. People were like either 4 or 6 months. I went 6 months. Then
you were in Amsterdam at the time.
Yeah.
So the idea of Vegas, like sister cities.
Exactly, that's what I mean. One city of sin to another. I don't know what the next one is, Rio or just...
who else?
Yeah.
Jordan Peele and Matt Jones, I think, both talked about the Boom, Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, Seth did it. I mean, they're tremendous alumni, and they just had their 25th anniversary of that theater starting... And still going, but I moved out of there with that, knowing I was going to go back to Chicago for a month, and then boom, then head out to, not to be confusing, then bam.
Thank you.
No, I'm not Emerald. Yeah, I don't have to pay for that. Then Shazam, no, can't do it. Then anyway, I moved out to Vegas. 6 months there. I was going to come home, but then my girlfriend at the time got hired too. So then we stayed out there. 3 months later, 9/11 happened, and then it was like, stay put. I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer.
Yeah. One time that place was a ghost town. I remember staying at the Bellagio shortly. I think it had just opened shortly after 9/11.
Yeah.
And there were 13 people inside the casino.
Yeah. It was not – I did the shows the night of 9/11. I remember coming in after crying all day and watching our friends' television because we didn't even have one at that point. And walking in and immediately seeing a guy hitting a slot machine because he was mad about something. I was like, what a weird world. And then we went in and we had a line around the block around the casino. I would say maybe aside from our opening night, quote unquote, the first time we sold out. And we did 2 sold out shows that night because everybody was grounded and we went in and took out like things that might have been insensitive. We took out any guns, like cap guns that were in the show and like sketches that involved guns. And then, I performed that night and I performed the night of the election this year. I was doing Dead Poet Society in 2016.
Sure.
Like 2 weird evenings to try to in New York specifically. I mean, I'm sure I could have been doing theater in Alabama and everything, but fine. But like it's a weird time to.
Well, forgive me for taking you back to your very focused efforts to join Blue Man Group, but I need a little bit of information about the struggle.
I'm not a good drummer. That was the big struggle. Like
unlike your son,
unlike my son, exactly.
Who's a natural.
I know he could be a blue man
15
right now.
months.
He's got better bone structure too because his mom. Look, it culminated in me getting flown out to New York 2 weeks before 9/11. In 2001, to audition to get bald and blue, as they say. I saw myself in the makeup, and I believe I may have said this and it's the truth, my very first time ever on a talk show on Conan specifically, I looked like a blue peanut M&M. Like, I just don't have the cheekbones for it. All my friends that did it in Vegas were legit rock stars, both in look, swagger, and ability. And I just was enamored with that show and the
a blue peanut M&M, to be specific about the shape.
Yeah, like an oval, like an upside, like not an upside down one. Literally, I just have cheeks. I got these went cheeks and
egg.
The blue, yeah, it's just not a good look. It didn't look cool. I didn't look anywhere near as cool as those guys did.
You had a little more body fat.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what I'm hearing.
But I love that show. I love that show in De La Guardia, and I had kind of fallen out of love with sketch comedy, maybe specifically the way we were doing things at Second City at that time. Nothing against the way they do their business anymore, but like at that point, I was frustrated, doing shows for like 10 people and being like I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, but I'm always up for like trying to learn something new. I'm self-taught.
You felt challenged though.
Yeah, 100%. And then when I also realized, this will probably be the only opportunity I'd ever have to play music on stage, even if it is me playing like a tube, like with like ping pong paddles. I was like, hey, that counts, baby. That's all right. Play White Rabbit, I'll do it. I just genuinely love the show. I love the comedy of it. I love the way the brand of it. I love I was like, and I really love the company that we kept with people that worked on that show, both on stage as actual Blue Men in the band, and then people behind the scenes. It was a and still is a really well run company by these created by these 3 guys, Chris, Matt, and Phil.
The success of it is just
and just the reach
historical.
of it, and they were so ahead of the curve in regards to just speaking about issues that are still relevant to this day. And and I took Otis to go see it, and he was obsessed with it for 3 months. That's the only songs he wanted to hear, and at some point I was kind of we gotta get into something else. It took him off the Beatles for a while as like a 2-year-old. I was like, oh, I should not have brought him. He was way too young. He was way too loud. But we'll get him back there at some point.
Sure.
We'll appreciate him more. But great show. Still love it.
And we got to see on television David Blaine teach you and your wife to hold your breath.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I mean, that guy.
Had you met at a show, at a party,
I had maybe run into him once personally before, but then that all came about because Liv was set up to do that show, and I remember we were out here in LA, and I was doing a table read that day of what was to become Horrible Bosses 2, And as I'm leaving home, I mean, I was going to miss him. And as I was heading home, hey, hon, I'm heading home. Is Blaine still there? He goes, they got here a little late. So yeah, he's still here. I'm going to let him know that you're on your way. And then they're like, cool. And David stayed because he knew I was a fan of magic and stuff. And,
Right.
And then he stayed at our place for 8 hours, and I was in hog heaven. And people ask me about that all the time too. Like, what? Like, was that real? I was like, yeah, man. Like, that's no BS. Like,
Of course
that guy's
it's real.
That guy's, remarkable. But we're not putting it on. Like the people that are on the show, they're like, is Kanye really upset? Is Harrison Ford? It's like, yeah, they're seeing what you're seeing. We're not. The fix is not on in regards to our reactions. That's one of the great things.
It isn't. What's not happening is what we know the word magic to be.
Yeah.
What's happening is discipline and craft.
Yeah.
To a historical level.
Yeah.
Seinfeld still has my favorite joke about people's perception of magic, which is, here's a quarter, now it's gone, you're an idiot. That's the concept.
Yeah.
And then take that to, your uncle pulling a quarter out from behind your ear to someone who says, no, you can train to hold your breath for 6.5 minutes and surprise people at parties.
Yeah.
But the concept of it makes no sense at all.
No. But that guy's he flipped the script. The fact that when his specials became about the response to magic versus the magic, when he made it about that was unheard of. Like when he put the camera on, there's an amazing video, and it's from his first special, I think, of him in East St. Louis stopping in the middle, of like a horrible neighborhood, doing magic for like these guys that are, you probably wouldn't stop your car for normally, and then he's knocking their socks off, and then cops roll up, and then he starts doing stuff for the cops, and then he's got both, these, troublemakers potentially, and these cops like being like on the same side of
equally
wonderment.
Losing their
then
minds.
He steals a cop's watch, and then the other guys are like, whoa, it's healing. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's the best of what that world has to offer.
Can you tell me? And that's another place that diving more into that over the past couple of years, post having kids and stuff, magic that is specifically. That's like again another vocabulary that is somewhat similar to what we do. Like just that feeling of wonderment or childlike enthusiasm is the same thing after a joke.
Yes.
For people that really laugh at the joke. I mean, there's those of us that cross our arms and go, well, let's see. Well, I've heard that before. Or well, that's derivative of this. Or
right.
How dare you say that? But
the documentary I did talked about the power one feels on stage when performing and getting laughs that were planned and choreographed by you.
Yeah.
And the power that comes from holding that audience and taking them for a ride of your choosing.
Yes.
And then that power is excelled when you can manipulate what appears to be time and space right in front of someone's face.
And matter. Yeah, exactly.
And you're in control of all these elements, and a lot of it is about the art of deception. Look over there. But the power that then comes from that, knowing what the outcome is going to be, which is someone losing their shit as opposed to laughing at wide stance.
Yeah.
It's intoxicating.
It really is, yeah. When you see it done well, just like comedy, just like tap dancing, just like playing a sport.
Had him at the home there for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Are we talking about any of this?
No, I'm just a kid again. No.
He's just performing.
100%. I like just literally trick after trick after. I mean, I think it's on the show. I can't remember. I've actually never watched the final edit of it because I was there. It was a little bit like I don't want to. But he pulled a card out of a lemon. I bought those lemons earlier that day. Like, I wasn't in on it.
Right.
Like it was great. He very kindly,
well, let me trace the steps
performed around
here.
my 40th birthday too. I mean, the next day after my 40th birthday was a surprise thing that Liv put together for me. Had people from all walks of my life, from every town I've ever lived in. The next day, if I saw 2 or more people standing in a corner, they weren't talking about me or how they knew me. They were talking about a card trick specifically that David showed them the night before at the party.
Crazy.
Like it just, he's and he still walks this earth.
Yeah. You bought those lemons earlier that day.
Exactly. Yeah. At Whole Foods.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you were out at the table read,
Yes.
and he got to the house before you did.
Yes.
He grabbed one of those lemons.
Don't do this. God dang it. You're damn right. I didn't even think about that. I forgot I wasn't there the whole time. Son of a gun. It's good. I'm glad I got you. I'm glad I got you on my side. I tell you, because if you were, you know, peeling back the curtain on some of the shit I did, oh boy.
Well, let's do that. Downsizing, Alexander Payne. Mm-hmm. He's one of my heroes.
He's a great
as a filmmaker.
Yeah, him and Jim Taylor, they're writing. I mean, that's what when I read that script and I read the scenes.
Yeah.
He told me in a meeting before. He goes, your guy ends up killing himself. And I thought, wow, he's going to give me a role where I have an arc where I suicide. No, that's not in the script. That's never in the script. It's just where my character is going to be. Like
you need to know where he's headed,
which I thought was such a great note. But it was like such a wait a minute, I don't think I got all the pages. It's like no, man, he's just like it's just very subtle. But there's, I mean what I say, 15 lines in that movie, but you could cast anybody in their writing and just pull it apart. And to get to play, I never met Matt Damon, or maybe once before, but he had never hosted SNL, so I was nervous as shit, man. My mouth was dry as hell.
He couldn't be more inviting and lovely.
Absolutely. But on that first day when you don't know, and I'm dropped, you get dropped in a play, like do 3 days of work,
right?
And you're doing this for a guy that you want to like you and think you're good, or think you're saying his words right.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing a scene with Matt Damon. I mean, I was lucky to have a friend of mine, Mary Beth Monroe, who comes from Second City, play my wife in that thing. So we could at least kind of be looking around being like, oh my God.
This is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just had TIFF just ended, the Toronto Film Festival. And you were there, was it a year ago for
I've gone the last couple of years. Kodachrome was a year ago, yeah.
Yeah. I love that script. How was that experience?
It was great. Like that was one of the first things. I don't think I was. Well, I know I wasn't. The director, Mark Rasso. The script was written by Jonathan Tropper, who's amazing novelist and a great TV and film writer. And he, I just responded to that script the first time I read it. I have a lovely relationship with my father, but those feelings of regret or anger or whatnot, they manifest in me for some way. And I could pay someone a couple $100 an hour to figure that stuff out. I haven't done it yet.
You're doing that now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I have to pay you for this? Is that what I fucking signed?
It is what you fucking signed.
I got to read the back of these things. And then Mark Rasso, I think, had other people in mind. And then it was the first time I met with them and just sort of. Because again, people don't know us if they've only seen your work. I mean, maybe if they're digging a little bit deeper and like you were talking about specificity. I mean, there's things that I watch of people that I feel like I know them based on maybe the downbeats of scenes, maybe not the things they're lauded for, but other things like they decide
comedy is a lot harder, and there's things in comedic performances that make it clear that this is a dramatic actor.
I'd love to get down with you on that more specifics, but I feel the same way. And boy, has there been a tremendous trail blazed for people that have done comedy that have gone on to make that turn, make that jump.
Thank you,
yourself included. No bullshit. But you can make.
Someone needs to tap you, nonetheless, to do that.
Has to see it in you, just like a Sally Shipley, just like a good coach. Has to see something in you that you maybe haven't shown other folks. And so Mark was open to that suggestion. And then one of those other things when you hear, because Ed Harris was already attached, and when he found out that me, and he gave it the thumbs up. I mean, that's that's something else.
Because he could rip out your heart and show it to you as you're
100%.
dying.
And also, he's a guy you want to do right by. Wait, he's aware of who I am?
Right.
And he's okay
and he's cool with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, I didn't know how much he was getting paid, so I thought it was really just about the work. But,
sure.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then have that experience with him and then with Elizabeth Olsen. And we shot it up in Toronto, too. But yeah, I mean, I love each and every one of them. And towards the point, like you were talking about, that thing got bought by Netflix, showed up on Netflix, and as much as I believe, and we were talking about right off the bat of all getting to see stuff in the theater. At the end of the day, you want people to hear your songs, maybe dance to them, maybe sing along to them. Netflix, all these different, they put it right in people's homes. I had more people reach out to me, and my father had friends of his. He would forward me emails of people that saw Netflix that it connected, because it deals with death and regret and all that. And it's another one of those things that it was cathartic for a lot of people to watch. And,
hell yeah!
And just the fact that they had access to it versus going on all these chat shows and it's like, oh, it's opening in 10 cities, not the one you're in, but boom, turn on your TV, there it is.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing for the art.
I reached out to, let's see, if I don't want to miss any of the replies from the folks I reached out to because, I wanted to hit it far and wide.
Come on.
So far, it looks like Riggle and Keckner refused to reply.
Yeah, they
Charlie Day as well.
Great, good.
Said, I don't have time for this.
Yep.
And weirdly, Will Forte, who I've got to believe is helping folks in the Carolinas right now, because otherwise he would have responded.
Yeah, he would have given you a doozy. No, he must be doing something.
Yeah, because we just saw each other recently and have been in touch. So I don't know what the fuck is literally up with that. But I do want to ask, because Jamie, my better half, sent me this, and so one of the takeaways from this, John Bovey, was among all the little riffs that happened within that universe, that repeating, thankfully, universe, was, I think you guys were asked something by Seth, and Will would just say, "What?
Yeah.
What the fuck?"
Yeah. What? And then I would usually just be, "What? What?" I mean, Forte, man. Like Forte always got me out of my head because he's always in his that then I would end up be. I mean, Forte is one of those guys that I can pair up with, and Kristen was the same way. I wrote a lot of stuff with Kristen, especially early on, where like 1 and 1 equals 3, like. Because I can't remember how that thing came about, how John Bovey came about. I mean, we both love word games, silly word games, but the whole premise is they hate Bon Jovi, the band,
but they
so much.
Tour as a...
Well, no, they hate Bon Jovi so much. This is the mythology that I'm telling you. They hate him so much that they decided to create a band that was the exact opposite of them. Hence John Bovey, and then we would sing Unwanted, Dead, and Alive. Like, we would sing all their songs.
That is a devotion to hatred.
It's like, and just do it joyfully. But the thing about Will, like, outside of the writing, like, they're so fun to watch, the sketches that I got to do with him. And we did lots of, like us, like side by side, two-handers facing the camera, that and the ESPN guys. When I get to go back and watch those, I finally get to see what the heck he's doing. And it's just pure, like, unbridled joy. And just his, what?
Yeah. From a different...
And I'd be like, what? What?
Two different perspectives of the same joke.
Just him playing his little tiny trumpet a little bit higher, a little bit whinier, and then me just a trombone.
Again, it's all about the specifics.
Yeah.
That's all it'll ever be.
And that's stuff that when you find that person in the sandbox that you don't even, it's already specific by them, and it's like objectivism as an art. Like, take care of yourself. That was the Annoyance's philosophy. Like, if you take care of yourself in your scene, that's how you're helping your scene partner. Which was a very romantic thing, like that idea of self-empowerment in the world of improvisation, where it's like you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what suggestion you're going to get or what your scene partner's going to say. It's like if you take care of yourself, then and you make it specific for yourself, then we'll figure it out as we go. But you come in there, with a big choice.
Again, these are the skills and tools you have learned that you can speak to that will serve you wildly as a director. I'm not going to let it go.
Please don't. No, text me every morning.
Well,
remind me.
I'm going to start out once a month, and then we'll work from there.
Did you work with this fellow? I just see on your notes.
No, but I want to hear about it.
I mean, look.
So I knew him. We acted together in something.
What?
Something nobody saw by design. Gary Marshall, 2 R's.
Yep.
3 technically, if we're including the last name. He was another Mount Rushmore guy when it came to the design of manipulating and controlling an audience through comedy. And he did it through several mediums, one of which was, of course, directing films. Mm-hmm. And also, people forget, but something like Pretty Woman. And then, so working with him, anything you care to share?
Well, I mean, by the time, that was his last movie. And we had a meeting at the Sunset Tower, which I believe is where I was staying at that point. And just to get to meet him,
room? Sorry,
I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
One of the small ones. Somebody interesting was there. And but we I'd heard lovely things about him. You know, he's a Northwestern grad, you know, so like Seth had worked with him. I'd heard, you know, just his benevolence in regards to that stuff, and just a guy that still paid attention to comedy. And so I was excited to meet him because for one simple reason, even though he had, you know, with Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days and various things, nothing in common with Tom Hanks and Jackie Gleason was one, like, just I probably watched it dozens of times as a kid. We were lucky enough to have cable growing up, and that was just one that just always hit me. And it was like in that time when I knew Tom Hanks from Big, not Big yet, maybe, I can't remember, but definitely, you know, Splash and
comedies.
The like, yeah, comedies, exactly. And this was just an amazing story, again, a father-son story.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And it shaped the way, like literally the scene, me entering Horrible Bosses, talking about specificity, entering Horrible Bosses, you first get to meet Bateman's character, then you meet Charlie Day's character, and then you meet my character, and I'm all happy-go-lucky, and it's me walking through this thing. And I literally showed Seth Gordon the opening scene, Tom Hanks' introduction, him walking through the ad agency of Nothing in Common, and be like, let's do this. And we did our version of it. I almost went so far as to find cash that I hid because I thought, but they shot that in Chicago. It had a bunch of Second City people in it. Like I just love that movie. And so for me, it was about getting to work with the guy that did that. Now at this point, maybe, you know, Rotten Tomatoes would say that, you know, he was worth this, that, or the other. I completely disagree with those people. He is an example of a man in the arena, big and bad, and one of those dudes that if you got to make him laugh, I mean, that guy is is still, even though he's gone, but was the living embodiment of someone that has forgotten more about comedy than any of the fucking people, you know, maybe doing it this now, especially critiquing it, and so to make him laugh or just to hear stories from him was like fantastic. I mean, I got to toss the ball with him, you know, when we're shooting in Atlanta, and it was great. And you know, you meet, you know, he surrounds it with his family, with his friends. You know, he loved making stuff. He loved watching people, you know, do stuff. And it wasn't about, like, I'm a kind of a logic cop, you know, like, well, why would I do that if this? He goes, don't worry. But then when you make a choice, he would always support it. He loved it. And he loved, like, little joke punch-ups. He was old school that way. He would have three guys just there for joke pitches. Just boom, boom, boom. Right. Just, you know, shots on goal. And then he'd figure it out later. You know?
I'm a logic guy, too.
Yeah. It helps. It kind of grounds where the jokes are coming from for me.
I just need to know something. And but then
Is the door hot? Are you like that?
Right.
You got to walk the space now.
I love to hear, though, from a Jedi warrior like a Gary Marshall.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Because I know I can close my eyes and fall back into his arms. Mm-hmm. So it takes me right out of my thoughts and right out of my design of comfort.
Yeah.
And because, again, I'm just after truth and after being present. So I just kind of need to know a couple things.
Yeah.
And so when I hear from a great one, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, all right, that's all. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Let's try that.
Yeah.
Let's try that.
I know.
And I find myself, one of my favorite pieces of direction to give in this line of thinking, after a take, I'll come over and I'll say, well, that was great. Let me see what it looks like, 17% less, and walk away.
Yeah.
And then, because as an actor, if I heard that, first I would laugh.
Right.
Why 17?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I would think, you just want me to do less?
Yeah.
But then also, I kind of ripped this off, a version of this from one of the true masters I was geniusly fortunate to work with, Scorsese on the movie Casino, which I'm in 9 minutes. But I had this one scene.
The best 9 minutes.
Well,
yeah.
It's the top three of the best 9 minutes. But I had this one scene with just me and De Niro sitting at this four-top table. And it leads to how many blueberries in the muffin. And you know, Bob Richardson is lighting this thing, so he'll light for 4 hours till you stop him.
Right.
And Scorsese's specific design of what the composition looks like, the framing, the composition. we learn more from people like Wes Anderson now and stuff. But Scorsese it was always about that composition. Like if you put a graph over the monitor made up of little squares, he knew what was in every square and why it was there.
Yeah.
But within that composition, Bob, not ever getting me to say that.
I know. I'm same.
Right?
Yeah.
No, it's not happening.
Never. Mr. De Niro. Hi.
Yep.
Yeah. Jason Sudeikis. We met at Saturday Night Live. Hi. That's everybody. Bill Murray. Everybody. None of these people are my friends. These are all Statue of Liberties. All of them.
Yeah. So, but after every take, he would come over to Mr. D and I. So I just remember a little bobbing Scorsese head at the edge of the table as he was crouching down, saying, "What do you think? Less funny? More angry? Less angry? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to do?" And then run away. But the point was, it was literally up to us to decide what to do next.
Yeah.
The idea again being, we've got great writing. Mm-hmm. I've got a terrific cinematographer. I like the way the shot looks. I've hired you two for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? That's just a great message to put out there.
It's empowering,
along with everything else.
Yeah, it's like directors that don't, or producers, or even co-stars that they're not playing action figures where they're doing all the voices and controlling all the movements. No, they're like literally like, no. This is. Yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Show like.
So in the face of all that, when someone as brilliant says it doesn't matter. Yeah. When we get uptight about wanting logic, please. Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just as freeing.
Yes, and no judgment towards my own questions or process. It was like, oh yeah, you don't.
It's fine.
Don't concern yourself with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and so if we're all just trying to get out of our own way, right? Yeah,
a lot of times, yes.
Then that's an easy thing. Yep. That's an easy path to follow.
You'd think.
Don't worry about it so much.
That is easier, yeah. Trying to get out of your own way can be
that's
real
an
tough.
Impossible task. So that's why it's to have someone who is not necessarily a mentor, but just in the case of you working with Gary Marshall, someone who comes from high atop to say whatever he has to say about any particular scene.
Absolutely.
There's the education as well.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so I don't have to worry about the logic of this. I just need to start over there and come over here and say that. Yeah. Okay. Because you like the way I'm saying it.
Are you kidding me? I love it. That's why you're here.
I mean, right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, we hit it off at lunch, at breakfast. It was like, right. I don't know if I had the job before then or anything. I was, I was willing to like lose it by telling him how much I loved that specific movie. Not talking about anything that that probably paid the bills many times over, but that movie specifically, like it resonated with me. And so I think he.
Did you ask him about Gleason from Nothing in Common?
A little bit. For me, it was just.
Because I asked Tom, I couldn't help it because I'm older, so Gleason was a weirdly impactful force. Yeah. Comedically, and then when he would do drama every now and then, it was mind-numbing. And then, as a much older man,
Fats.
looking
come on,
as a much older man, looking very much like what my father looked like, at Gleason in Nothing in Common, and being that intense and uncomfortable and oh man, yeah.
I mean, they're talking about if someone certain kind of comedy can make that transition, can break your heart as easily as they can, fix it. No, it's that. I mean, hell, I loved him in The Toy.
Oh, of course.
Like, that was a big one for me as a kid.
Yeah. We just lost Burt Reynolds, and I was thinking I loved him in Bandit. Yeah. Just him being frustrated was enough to send me over the top. Other than The Mesa, what are you watching on the TV these days? There's 492 scripted television shows now.
I know it. Yeah.
And there's no way to catch up.
No, it's very, very tough, and that's why like when one sneaks through, and then I'm just into it wholeheartedly. I mean, I've been pestering everyone about it and being like, "Have you watched it?
I challenge people about another show on Amazon Prime called Patriot.
I don't know.
I beg of you. Make it next.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
It's as if Wes Anderson and the Coen brothers decided to do a show about espionage.
Oh, that's
I
love it. That's enough for me. Yeah. I really like Insecure and Issa Rae. I think she's something else. Yeah, I mean, just like Yeah,
Jordan's
fantastic.
nodding in a big way.
Yeah, big way. No, almost shaking the headphones off there. But no, she's something else, and that show's got a real great thing. I really loved. Liv and I burned through the first 2 seasons of Search Party, and on TBS, and I spoke to a guy who was involved with the 3rd season. He said it's fantastic, but again, I know we're at peak TV, but literally when I think about the 3 shows that have really knocked my socks off, all of them have female leads, and I maybe it comes down to that same thing that I felt when I was watching Liv's, reel, where it's just like, oh, that just feels fresh to me.
Right.
Like it just feels like, like that's a voice and a take on stuff that it felt refreshing, and
Right.
I don't know if it's gender specific, but they all happen to be. But and then the other thing that I loved, my 2 favorite things from, I guess 2017 it was now. On the film side, I loved Get Out,
of course,
and I thought only Jordan could have made that movie, and luckily he did.
As it turns out,
someone didn't rip him off, his brain off. And then American Vandal. Did you watch that?
Oh man! I hear there's another season coming.
Yeah, there's another season coming. Yeah,
that one snuck up on.
I saw the trailer for that on and I got a hold of a buddy, Mike, over at Funny or Die. I go, is this whole thing this funny, or is this just the greatest trailer? Because we'd watched The Jinx and Making a Murder. We'd listened to the Serial, so we're that genre. We knew its things. But then when
Prime to Pimp,
when that inciting incident, that joke of it of spray turns, and when it starts to get meta and folds in on itself, I was like, this is remarkable.
Yeah,
this is so, and the casting again, right up there with your guys' show, where it's just like, oh, we're getting to see sides of these these people in here. Yeah, Tony and Dan who created that show did a tremendous job. I can't wait for the 2nd season. Yeah, because they're continuing with the 2 kids that made the thing. I'm just like,
you're in.
I'm like, yeah. Have you seen the trailer for it?
For the season 2?
Yeah, season 2.
I've not.
It's out there. It's great. I won't spoil it, but it's scatological again. But they've earned all the goodwill for me to blow through those episodes. But there's moments when you see things. I'm not on social media, but when I see I'd mostly want to use it to just shine a light on things that I think that I personally love. For no other reason than I'd want those people to know. But normally, even this day, I'll try to reach out to someone and be like, that's why, for you, there wasn't. I'm just giving you a shout because we see each other once a year.
Sure.
We had talked about doing this,
right.
and you may have thought I was blowing it off, and you were a gentleman about that. Well, I wasn't at all, but it's like, hey, you can call whenever. And then I was just like, hey man, I've spent 5 hours with you. You were, to a degree,
right.
when you're up, we're lucky enough to get your episode, you in an episode, and then hey, let's chat about it.
Yeah.
I was like, great. Yeah.
8 of 10 season 2. So
there you go. See,
better.
They know where their bread's buttered.
Yeah. Well, I went from reoccurring to season regular.
No, there you go. The Ratzenberger, they call it.
That's right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Cliff, not an original character.
No.
Great story.
Hard to believe.
Great story.
But it is a great story.
That's one I tell actors all the time, because so often those that skew humble or modest, especially comedians that are like, I don't know if that's my bag. It's like, no, people, every time you walk into audition, they want you to crush it, believe it or not. Even the mean ones, even the ones that are like, maybe acting's not for you, they would love it if you did. And then if it's not there, don't give up on it. Use those gifts of seeing invisible things to help them see something invisible that they missed. And that's John Ratzenberger saying, do you have a bar know-it-all? Went in there for Cliff, came out Cliff. Went in there for Norm, came out as Cliff.
Right.
Wrote a part for him.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It is kind of great.
Bold, brilliant, brave. Yep.
And I'm sure you heard the Danny DeVito story on Taxi.
No.
His audition. I had James L. Brooks, a friend of the show, and myself, fortunately, because he's another ridiculously brilliant mentor.
Yeah.
I had to ask him because I'd heard, and I said, I don't care if it's apocryphal or not, but I would like to know. Mm-hmm. So, Taxi audition, part Louis De Palma, runs the taxi company out of a little cage. And Danny DeVito, pretty unknown, had a good little part in the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Martini, the name of the character. But so he walks into the audition, holding the script in his hand, and said, "Who wrote this shit?" Threw it on the desk, didn't wait for an answer, threw it on the desk, and walked out. That was it. And I said, so he said, yes, it's true. It's verbatim. And I said, but when he walked out, did you think he was coming back in and going, funny, right? And then when he didn't, did you try to get him from the parking lot to have a further discussion? Did you know something magical had just happened? I mean, how apparent was the rest of the story?
Yeah.
And it turns out that they just laughed about that for a really long time. Didn't need to chase him down in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And just said that is the essence. Also, just look at this actor and this gamble he just took.
Yeah.
Everything about that is this character.
Yeah.
Do we need to see him do a scene? I don't think so.
I don't know.
Was the discussion. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'd heard one. Have you ever heard I don't know if this is true, and I probably could ask my Uncle George about it, but about Woody auditioning for Cheers. You know, coming in for Coach.
Yeah,
you know,
Coach had passed.
I forget the gentleman's
Wonderful
name.
actor.
Yeah, Italian name. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but supposedly like came right into the audition, blew his nose into a hanky, then shook everybody's hand. Again, I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but in full Woody character, you know,
yeah.
It's the essence. It's what, like when that essence is, you know, you don't have to dress up for it. You just gotta be it, and it's also about knowing what you can be and what you can't be. And again, it's like maybe the action line isn't right. You know, like Benjamin Braddock was supposed to be, you know, look like Robert Redford, and lo and behold, it was Dustin Hoffman.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah. Boy, don't you? Okay. We've reached a point of the show. It's called Ask Kevin. It can be a sincere question or a silly one, or neither, but you're allowed to ask me only one question.
Were you there? Were you in the courtroom for Nicholson's coverage on Few Good Men?
So yes, not only was I there, we shot that for 5 days.
That specific scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of his courtroom coverage. He's in one other scene where he comes in the courtroom and says, "Thank you, Danny," and he leaves. But all the courtroom stuff majority was the soliloquy. And, of course, because he calls me out, "Who's going to do it? You, Lieutenant Weinberg," which is really, who's going to do it? You, is the Jew going to do it? Because our characters don't speak to each other in the film. We meet, we shake hands, and then that's it. So there's really no reason to call out Weinberg. But
so what are they? A dog whistle, they would call it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always did impersonations, and I've been doing Nicholson in my stand-up act for a very long time. I never mentioned this to Miss Nicholson while we worked on the movie together. In fact, I tried not to bother him at all. And I tell a story in my stand-up act and in my book about how my mom came to visit, ended up hitting on Jack while he was on the stand, cameras over his shoulder, shooting that wide shot of the courtroom over his shoulder. A dirty over, a little piece of Jack. My mom, there's no other place to put her. The camera angle so wide where the camera won't see her, so they have to put her over his other shoulder. So now in the single most important work I'll ever have as an actor, and knew it, my mother was in my eye line, in case you were wondering.
How about that?
Yeah, Nicholson saw me freaking the fuck out and decided to come over during a lighting change and fuck with me by saying, "Hey, Kev, how's it hanging? Listen, I was wondering if you could do me a favor." "Yes. I was hoping you might be able to get your mom off my ass. She's hitting on me. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to take your mom back to my trailer? Is that what you want?" Yeah, so I was there. Now, the best part still might have been, after watching Jack do the soliloquy for 4.5 days, I'm driving home every night doing the soliloquy into the rearview mirror.
Oh, I bet.
And so Jack worked.
Hopefully at red lights only. Yeah. Hey,
as
you do
the story
work.
goes, yes. So Jack worked exactly 10 days for a very large sum of money. And at the end of the 10th day in the courtroom, that scene, Rob had a couple of more things to do with Jack and had to go to him and say, "Can I get you tomorrow just till noon? I promise I'll have you out at 12 noon exactly. We cannot afford to pay your daily. Is there any?" And Jack, "Whatever you need, Robbie." He was making $500,000 a day. Yeah. And I asked him, "Do you even hit the snooze alarm when you make $500,000 a day? Or could you race into work?" So Jack comes back for the work till noon. And at exactly 12 noon, Rob says, that's a wrap on Jack Nicholson. And everyone goes crazy. A lot of celebration, a lot of hugs and happiness. And he leaves, and they were shooting actually over him onto the judge. So I went over to Rob and said, listen, if it'll help, I've now completely memorized Jack's part. If it'll help AJ, the actor playing the judge, I'll sit on the stand and do the off-camera lines. I'll hold the sides too, so I don't fuck it up. I won't need them, but I'll hold them. Again, only if it'll help AJ. And Rob said, that would be great. Let me ask him. And AJ said, yes, that would be great. Please. And I did it. You know, and after the first take, the crew went fucking bananas. And I said, hey, guys, really? The coverage is on AJ? Can we not? And then the greatest thing was 2 days later, because back then shooting on 35, you had to wait a couple of days for dailies. And Rob just pulled me aside in the morning and said, watch dailies last night of Jack's last day. Fuck, he's so great. And took 4 takes into you doing it before I realized it was not Jack. There's no longer Jack. So those are my favorite moments from being in the room.
Did Jack get to hear you doing it when he was?
No, I don't like doing it in front of the person. I don't know what your feeling is on that.
I don't either.
There's no point when the real thing is there. You're just a monkey in a suit.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No,
and I started talking about this in the act a little bit. It's a parlor trick.
Yes.
If I can think of someone you like, and I can recreate them in front of you, I will actually steal the affection you have for that person. Yeah. So if they're there, you got nothing.
It's a very interesting skill, because it's one that I sort of got good at as a kid, but then didn't really lean into once I started performing for a living. Yeah, even working on SNL, I would never I mean, again, I'm working with Daryl Hammond and Bill and Fred, like people that could still. I know, but if it was someone I liked, if it was someone I could do, then I'd do it. But a lot of times I just didn't have. Right. I don't know. It was always it's a thing that I kind of pulled back from diving in. I love sketch comedy as a medium, and when it's relegated to, especially when you first start out at SNL, at least in this day and age. The impressions you can do, it's kind of like, well, it's the same feeling I had about, the acting, like, play different characters, like, but there's only one me. And like, so, again, maybe it's just a fear of success or failure that's causing me to justify it with some type of, rumination. But it is one of those things that it's a great way to make folks laugh. And I do it naturally when telling stories,
Sure.
like,
Yeah. It's a great parlor trick.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, it's time for Kevin's pop quiz. Between 5 and 15 points possible for each of the following 3 questions.
Amazing. Okay.
Once the final score is tabulated, it'll be posted on our website, along with the current standing of the top 100. Are you ready?
I sure am.
Okay. Question number 1. Keith David or David Keith?
David Keith.
Correct. Carl Weathers or the weather in Carlsbad?
I'm going to say Carl Weathers.
Not correct. Sorry. Last question. Steve?
My name is Jason.
That is correct. 2 out of 3. Not bad at all. That was the correct answer for the last question. Steve, ... question mark.
Everyone, you remember that joke where it's the guy, at the baseball game, is the 2 friends, they're up there, and you just hear, Steve! Steve! And the guy stands up and goes, what? He sits back down, and goes, that's weird. Steve! Stands up. Nothing. Person won't say who they are. Steve! Steve stands up. Hey! My name is Joe. I'm completely ripping that off to answer that question.
That's pretty great, though.
Hey, it worked out. Yeah.
Thank you so very, very much. Is there any? Is there anything you want to project-wise mention? It's not really what the show's about.
You spoke to it. You spoke. I'm one of those people that's
driven.
No, when your show's coming back for season 2, hey, that's me asking on behalf. And my dad is the one that told me. I mean, look, the advertising and the tunes and everything got me. But then my dad is just wicked Midwestern grown-up taste. Like knew Big Bang Theory was hot. Like loves Jim Parsons. Like told me about Mad Men. My favorite thing to tell people is when I was on SNL, his favorite cast member was Fred.
Wow.
Also right, you know,
Yeah.
like, and so he's like, have you
Also
seen
right.
have you seen Mrs. Maisel? I go, I haven't yet. He goes,
Yeah.
Jace.
Well,
I mean, he's probably cornered you when you've been back in KC.
so yeah,
Yeah.
we did mention see you once a year, and I'm sorry we did not talk at all about
that's okay.
Big
It's all
Slick.
right. No, hey, that's how we know it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is a phenomenal organization for Children's Mercy Hospital, Kansas City, and I recommend that people check it out. It's the five of you, you, Keckner, Riggle, Rudd, and Stone Street,
Yep.
pulling show folk to Kansas City for a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This last year we raised, it was a big number.
2 million, over 2 million.
Yeah, because when I first started there, if we got to 500,000 or 600,000, it
Yeah.
was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And only just a few more years.
Yeah, it just keeps going. It's amazing.
And it's an extraordinary thing. And for the first time, I actually had something to auction off, which was the set visit
true,
for
that's right.
Maisel.
Yep.
And they came, and it was a great
great.
thing while we were shooting.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so your dad has always been wonderful at, well, your whole family.
Yeah, because all the families are involved too. So like, it's
Yeah.
not, you know,
Yeah.
that just so folks know. Yeah, that it's a grassroots like
Oh,
thing
yeah.
that so like, you know, my mom doesn't travel. You know,
Yeah.
and Gloria. I mean, literally every parent and sibling has something to do with it. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not unusual that you're rubbing elbows with the. I just don't want to insinuate that my dad just
Happens to be hanging around.
just throws elbows to get in there and like get access to everybody.
Yeah.
Constantly hand out scripts, spec
Gloria
scripts.
Rudd and,
you know, he's getting people
yeah.
to sign his, you know, his Hollywood Reporter.
That's right.
No, he's not. Yeah.
But he did corner me this last June
good.
with incredibly kind things to say about Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And so, yeah, I was prepared.
He represents like just like a good 5 to 12 million on the Nielsen rating.
Yeah,
like
his demographic.
He's like kind of a savant about it. Like it's really.
Was you like that when you were growing up? Would he say, watch this, watch that?
Yes, but not only because he enjoyed it. I mean, he took me to
Right.
see Beverly Hills Cop when, you know, in the theater. I was 9 years old, and he didn't give a darn, you know.
Right.
People, I got asked a lot this weekend, like, what did you know of the John DeLorean story? So, like, when Marty McFly says, you built a time machine out of a DeLorean? Like, my dad laughs, and I'm like, why is that funny?
Right.
And then, you know, well, John DeLorean says, you know, he would give me, like, you know, he was Wikipedia before Wikipedia. So, he's got a tremendous memory and brain for fun stuff like that. But you know, just the world's greatest +1, and he's just got big old ears as a jazz drummer, and has soaked up all this stuff and can just lays it out and just, you know, feels his own heat. But he doesn't like talk shop about it. He just like knows what he likes.
Yeah.
He's just like, Jason,
This is good, and here's why.
Yeah. So again, he led me down the correct path once again.
Well,
I thank you all for being there.
God bless your family.
Amen.
Is what I have to say. And thank you again very much.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I can't wait to text you where Will Forte was, in fact, that stopped him from contributing to Famous Question. But I thank those that did.
Yeah. No, I'll take it up with him immediately.
Yeah. Jordan, thank you very much for spending some time with us.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Engineer
Yeah.
to the stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really big taking. you
Well,
know.
you've earned it.
Okay.
Great
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm sure some stars come through here.
Yeah. They should be here any minute. In fact, we should get out of here before they find out
really
that we
should get
turned
out.
on all the stuff.
And thanks to Corey Levin and Post and all the folks here at Earwolf who allow us into these auspices. Until next time, and as always, get out of my face.